book that I've written that most tried to frame my concern with popular culture to a more general audience is the collection of essays, Outlaw Culture. And in the beginning of that book, what I say is that students from different, class backgrounds and ethnicities would come to my classes, and I would want them to read all this metalinguistic theory and of difference and otherness, and they would say, well, what does this have to do with our lives? And I found continually that if I took a movie and said, well, did you go see this movie, and how do you think about it? And I related something very concrete in popular culture to the kind of theoretical paradigms that I was trying to share with them through various work. People seemed to grasp it more, and not only that, it would seem to be much more exciting and much more interesting for everybody. Because popular culture has that power in everyday life.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Whether we're talking about race or gender or class, popular culture is where the pedagogy is. It's where the learning is. And so I think that partially people like me who started off doing feminist theory or more traditional literary criticism or what have you, begin to write about popular culture, largely because of the impact it was having as the primary pedagogical medium for masses of people globally who want to, in some way, understand the politics of difference. I mean, it's been really exciting for someone like me, both in terms of the personal desires I have to remain bonded with the working class culture and experience that I came from, as well as the sort of southern black aspect of that, and at the same time to be a part of a diasporic world culture of ideas, and to see how can there be a kind of interplay between all of those different forces. Popular culture is one of the sites where there can be an interplay. My own sense is that the most enabling resource that I can offer as a critic or an intellectual professor is the capacity to think critically about our lives. I think thinking critically is at the heart of anybody transforming their life, and I really believe that a person who thinks critically, who, may be extraordinarily disadvantaged materially, can find ways to transform their lives that can be deeply and profoundly meaningful, in the same way that someone who may be incredibly privileged materially and in crisis in their life may remain perpetually unable to resolve their life in any meaningful way if they don't think critically. As someone who's moved from teaching at very fancy, private, predominantly white schools to teaching at an urban, predominantly non-white campus in Harlem, and the first thing I noticed was that my students were equally brilliant in the Harlem setting as they were when I taught at Yale or Oberlin, but their senses of what the meaning of that brilliance was and what they could do with it, their sense of agency was profoundly different. When students came to Yale, they came there knowing that they're the best and the brightest, and they think that they have a certain kind of future ahead for them, and they in a sense, are open to embracing that future. It has nothing to do with the level of knowledge. It has more to do with their sense of entitlement about having a future. And what I see among my really brilliant students up in Harlem, many of whom have very difficult lives, they work, they have children, is that they don't have that sense of entitlement. They don't have that imagination into a future of agency. And as such, I think many professors do not try to give them the gift of critical thinking in a certain kind of patronizing way. Education just says all these people need is tools for survival, basic survival tools like their degree so they can get a job, and not in fact that we enhance their lives in the same way we've enhanced our lives by engaging in a certain kind of critical